It's time to break up with my manufacturer.
If you look at his knee and the screen printing there, this is in some way, shape, or form on all of these pins. It has glitter details in the back, and he's going to be glow in the dark. Definitely get in my shop and grab what you want before these are potentially gone forever.
Hey guys, welcome back to my studio. It is actually Monday the 2nd of May, right? Yes, it is Monday, May 2nd, and I actually wasn't going to do any work or any vlogging today at all because I did a lot of work over the weekend and I was going to take the day off, but I ended up getting dressed up and I thought may as well show my face to the camera. So, exciting things. I finally had revealed on Instagram and Patreon and all that stuff the May Patreon rewards, which is Puppy Bakery, and here are the rewards if you haven't seen them yet. Very cute. I'm very happy with them. And I actually just had the enamel pins delivered. I'm gonna say it's time to break up with my manufacturer. So I thought in this vlog I'd take you kind of through the journey of going through that process. I'll talk a little bit about it in a bit, but the pins were so flawed. Like every single one of them were so flawed. Like I had asked for replacements of the cat pins from April that they happily provided me with. Even a lot of those ones were flawed. So I think it's time to break up, and I'm gonna ask them for a refund, see how that goes, and because I'm going to be moving to a new manufacturer, hopefully, I'm gonna ask them to destroy all my molds, which this is like the one manufacturer I've been working with my entire shop history. So that's all of my pins, with the exception of the periwinkle one because he was with Vogue Grace. So I will probably kind of take you guys through the process of me asking for the refund and seeing how that goes and next steps for that, and also through the process of actually looking for a new manufacturer. Now I'm gonna say, until I really know how a new manufacturer is gonna go, I'm not gonna share names of factories that I'm working with. I'm just gonna kind of take you vaguely through the process. So let's see how those pins turned out.
So here's how I have them sorted. I didn't bother sorting the cat pins into Patreon grade because those are already off. So this is just decent enough to sell in my shop. These are all the ones of the Puppy Bakery that qualify for Patreon. And I'm going to say this is vaguely qualifies for Patreon because they're still not up to my standards. These are all intensely flawed. I ordered 75 of those pins, of the puppy pins. I got exactly 75 pins. So that ratio is unacceptable by anybody's standards. And I'm going to show you most of the problem on these pins. I don't know if it'll pick up because my camera doesn't like to focus really. Oh no! There it is. Okay. Disaster. My camera doesn't like to focus up close, but you can already see. This one, he's got a big old bubble on the enamel by his eye. But if you look at his knee and the screen printing there, and this is in some way, shape, or form on all of these pins. The screen printing was not allowed to dry before packaged, so it's all smeared. It's terrible. I've never had anything like this. And another thing that I don't know how picky I can be, is you can kind of see on the plating, this isn't a very good example, maybe right there in the lines on the bread, there's little tarnish marks in the plating. I don't know. I'm really unhappy, so time to find a new manufacturer. But the pins are still really cute. Look at, they're so little. Just little good boys. Oh, lots of B grade pins to get rid of. Oh, and the cat pins. These ones, they fixed the problem that I had initially, which was the weird swirling in the metal. But now they have these weird chips or tarnishes along the edge, and there's just no winning. So, yep, time to break up. All right, it's the next morning, and I will share with you the message I sent to my manufacturer. This particular factory is easier to contact on Facebook Messenger. They take a couple days to reply through email, so this was a more quick response. But they did ask for photos of all the defects, so that's what I'm doing today. Is I'm going to take pictures of not these cats, but all of these pins and send them however many pictures that is with the defects circled. Alright, so all the photos are taken. I even edited them all to like circle the defects. There's, well, shoot. Let me reselect all of these. Where does it show? There's 86. See that little red? 86 individual pins with defects. That is 75 out of 75 of the dog pins, and 12 out of 27 of the cat remakes. So I'm going to put these into a Google Drive. By the way, the dogs have the zoomies because they got bads. Huh, baby? You have the zoomies. So I'm going to stick these into a Google Drive folder and send them to the manufacturer and let them know like what the general defects are.
Okay, so it's a couple days later. And good news is my manufacturer gave me a full refund, pretty much no questions asked. After I sent, a folder full of 86 entire photos of individual pins, and they showed it to their boss, I think they're like, yeah, there's no way we can get out of this one. So no questions asked. They just said, hey, what's your PayPal? And within 24 hours, I had the full refund, which was great because, moving into the next step, which was getting those pins remade. I still need to have them by the end of this month so that I can have them out to my patrons for May. And that is always, of course, going to be the tricky part because it took me like 3 days to reach out to and vet a handful of manufacturers. And again, I've already done this, and I'm just kind of going back and explaining the process to you. And I'll put up some handy screenshots here so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. And I'm not going to give names of the manufacturers that I looked into. I'm just going to do a general overview kind of how I navigate Alibaba to find manufacturers. First things first, I like to make sure there's a section at the top where you can check to make sure you're only seeing verified manufacturers. And that pretty much means that they're a legitimate business, they've been vetted by Alibaba, and they have a good reputation overall. Ratings and reviews aren't really that big of a deal to me personally, because I know everybody's going to have a different experience, and most of the time, from what I've seen, people only like to leave bad reviews. And it's kind of tricky to leave reviews on Alibaba anyways. Like, there's been times where I've wanted to leave really positive reviews, but just kind of the way that it's set up makes me not go through with it. But so far, I've really enjoyed most of the manufacturers I've worked with. So I reached out to five different manufacturers, 2 on one day and 3 on another. And what I was looking for mostly, before I even reached out, I wanted to see what types of pins they did, what their pin photos looked like, which I don't know if you're not familiar with using Alibaba. They'll have like a bunch of different listings for different types of pins or items. They're all pretty much the same thing. Like, I will usually just go into the chat and talk directly to somebody and say, hey, this is what I'm looking for. But I wanted to see what the photos looked like, because sometimes you will find pins that other people sell, like artists that you recognize, and you're essentially finding their manufacturer, kind of. That's not always the case. I know there's also places who steal photos, but if you know what you're looking for, you'll know when you're seeing the actual manufacturer photo versus like a listing photo that the actual artist took. So if I see pins that I recognize, I have a little bit more trust, and I am also looking for the number of years they've been in business and the number of employees they have. And especially after this last incident, I was looking specifically, there's a section under each business profile where you can see how many people they have working in the quality control section. It looks like a lot of them are less than 5 or 1 person in those areas. I was looking for a little bit more than that, at least more than 1 person, because when you have so many orders and they're all bulk orders, and you have 1 person making sure all of those things, each individual thing is okay to send off, that's how mistakes get made. So I was looking into that, and one other motivating factor was I was looking to see what different types of items they offer besides enamel pins. I'm trying to cut down on a lot of my inventory or my manufacturing costs this year, so saving on shipping where I can and lower MOQs and all that is going to be a big goal for me. And it's getting dark because it's really freaking cloudy today. Let's give the sun a second to come out. It's not coming out. Anyways, so I was looking at those different little qualifications. And of course, not all of these things are going to matter to everybody who is ordering pins or anything else from these places. Make sure that you're vetting for things that are important to you. Once I determined which factories I was going to reach out to, I was asking them all the same questions and giving them all basically the same prompts because I wanted to compare them. So I was asking each one what their MOQ is, which is minimum order quantity, what their processing time is, and what is their percentage, their acceptable percentage for flawed products. These are very important to me at this point because, we're into the month of May, and I like to order the enamel pins for the month coming up like a month ahead. So I had ordered these with the original manufacturer at the beginning of April, and they took a whole month to get here. So I've already lost time, and I've already told my patrons there might be a delay because I am having to get these remade with a completely new place. The other factor is I was looking for a manufacturer who could also do embroidery patches, which I don't think I've mentioned at all yet. And I'm only saying it now. It's been something that I've thought about doing for a long time, and people have asked about patches in the past, but I've never really had ideas for them, and so I just kind of put it on the back burner. But there is going to be an embroidery patch as one of the extra merch items in June's merch box club. So, and I'll probably get into all that in a little bit, but yeah, so I was looking for basically a multi-purpose manufacturer with enamel pins, and of the 5 that I contacted, 2 of them offered in their catalogs embroidery patches. So I got all of these questions out, and I got the basic questions answered, and they always want to know, like, okay, what is your design so we can actually give you a proper quote. So then I was giving them the specs for the May pin, and I wanted 75 quantity. So, and then I would send them a very low quality image of the design, so I'm not sending them the actual specs. So I got all of those quotes back, and the other thing I was kind of betting on was how quickly these people responded to me, because, you know, we're on a time difference, and I'm usually communicating with these manufacturers at night when it's daytime over there in China. And if they took like hours to get back to me, there was, I think, at least one that didn't actually get me a quote at all. You know, I gave them all the information and then they just never got me the quote. And there were 2 that were extremely prompt, and I really liked them from the start. The first one, unfortunately, was over $100 more expensive than what I originally paid for those pins. And the other one is actually the one that I chose because they offered embroidery patches. So once they got me the quote for the May pins, I was like, okay, well, what would it be? How much would it cost for a 3-inch embroidery patch with 7 colors? And she gave me the option of 50 or 100 quantity, because I asked for 50 originally, and she said it's actually going to be cheaper if you do 100, so I asked for a quote for both. I chose 100, and then I was like, okay, here's a third item, a second pin that I would like to order as well. Give me the full price for this whole thing, and she gave it to me, and it was a fantastic price. So I have currently in production with a brand new manufacturer the May pin remakes, the June pin, and the June patch. So those are, I mean, they're working on them. She's supposed to send me a picture of the patch so I can approve the colors of the threads before they go into mass production. And there was an aspect of the June pin that I wanted to see before I made a final decision on some colors. So those are some of the things that I look for when I'm vetting manufacturers, and hopefully that's something that helps you guys out. But I'm personally just really excited to hopefully have found a new replacement manufacturer. And if these pins have any problems, you know, I will have to find somebody else and start the whole process over, which is a bummer because having a pin club now, I don't exactly have the luxury of just, you know, stewing in it. But one thing about the pin manufacturer that I did choose is when I asked her about the percentage of flawed pins, I don't think she understood the question and she didn't answer it correctly. So I'll have to like reiterate that to her. But most of the ones that I asked that question to said out of 75 pins, out of the 75 pins I was asking about, they said 5% or less. So that's like 3 to 5 pins. And to have that compared to the 100% flawed batch that I received, just ridiculous. So hopefully those will be here by the end of the month, and I will give you guys a little sneaky peek of June. We will see how this goes because I'm not very good yet at recording the screen of my iPad. So June, I know I was going to keep this a secret, but June's theme is going to be Fresno Nightcrawler. So these were options for the pin, but this one seemed too plain and this one seemed too bold. So I'm going with this one. It has glitter details in the back, and he's going to be glow in the dark. This will be my first glow in the dark pin. I'm really excited about it. And it's going to be the same size as the rest, 25 millimeter. So this is the patch.
You can't really tell. It has a really dark green border, but yeah, 3 inches. I'm ordering 100 of them, and I don't have 100 merch box tiers, so there's definitely going to be some extras left over. But I highly recommend, if you want this patch, it's going to be, if you want any of this stuff, it's always going to be better to do the merch box, because you're basically paying for the stickers from the sticker club, which this is going to be the sticker. I just have to reformat it. The postcard, and the enamel pin, and then shipping is basically free, and the other 2 extra items are going to be free. And I think the other item is going to be a lanyard, which the pin manufacturer who's making these pins and the patch can also make. So when I reorder, or when I order my pin for July later this month, I can do that as well. So really excited about these. Hopefully you guys are too. So I didn't intend for this to be the chattiest of studio vlogs of all time, and I had some footage of me earlier this week cleaning up my studio, so I thought, I still have more that I want to say about all of this pin stuff, so I figured I'd just put some voiceover to some clips of me cleaning, because my office has been a huge mess since WonderCon ended, and I've just been existing in it. Anyways, so like I had mentioned, the manufacturer that I was working with before for the enamel pins gave me a full refund, and I've already found a replacement, and hopefully things go smoothly from here and there's no more hiccups. One thing that I didn't really consider until after the decision was already made to stop working with this manufacturer is that all of the pins that I already have, with the exception of the periwinkle pin, they will all be last runs, because this manufacturer, I've been working with them since I think 2017, and pretty much all of the pins I've ever made have been with this factory. So they have all of my molds, and I don't really feel comfortable asking for them to ship the molds anywhere else. I don't know how that will go. I guess I could try. There's no harm in trying. And I know that I've heard horror stories of some people having their molds pawned off or sold to other manufacturers, and they make counterfeits, which I don't really want to have happen either. And I don't know what the general attitude is on the manufacturer side for this sort of request, but I did consider asking them to destroy the molds. So again, that would mean that all of the pins that I have in stock, with the exception of periwinkle, would no longer be restocked unless I had the molds remade. So it's kind of a big deal, because those are expensive pieces for one, and a lot of them are some of my best-selling items, like the bat pin, the tiny bat pin. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it or not, but that's constantly out of stock, and I was going to restock it again with the next batch of Patreon pins, but obviously that's not going to happen. There's probably some, the teeny tiny ones, that I'll have remade, because I do actually plan on doing a tiny pin Kickstarter in the next couple of weeks, hopefully, however things go. But yeah, I'm a little bit sad. I can't justify having new molds made for most of my pins. So here's a nice little overview of all of the ones that I offer. All of my logo pins, all my tiny pins, all my plant pins, and the club pins. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think, but definitely get in my shop and grab what you want before these are potentially gone forever. And that's where I'm going to go ahead and end the video. So I wanted to thank you guys so much for watching until the end. And if you have any questions about more details about how I went in and talked to my manufacturer and vetted for new ones, let me know. You can leave me a comment or reach out to me on Instagram. I also want to say real quick, I'm not going to go into it too much, but
Next Saturday is my next BizBaz at home convention. It's on May 21st from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. And I'll have a bunch of new sticker book designs up for pre-order for that day only. So be sure to check it out. And yeah, I'll have a lot more details on Instagram for that. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!